Hey guys, what's going on? Dickelson here, bringing you another video. This is the Puerto Seguro cavalry saber, Spanish, and the reason, like I said in my channel update, is the reason I'm doing this video is because there's a lot of misinformation out there. I had to go through and sort through a lot of it, find out what's false, find out what other websites are saying that other websites are true. I had to go through, I think I even went through 2 catalogs that came out back in the day that had this particular model. So that was really neat. It took a long time. It took me a few hours to find out what this was. So I'm going to make it easy for you guys and tell you what you have. So basically, there's 3 different versions. This is the 3rd version of this sword. I'll turn my camera around so you can see it. This one has the Spanish coat of arms. It's got an eagle with a cross in the middle of it. Sorry for the bad lighting. I'll post pictures of it at the end of the video so you can actually see it. Basically, this is the 3rd version because, like I said, it's got the Spanish eagle and cross upside down. And that means it was made sometime during World War II. And so this is where it gets kind of tricky because it was made during World War II. Spain was neutral during World War II, or they tried to be, so they just let Germany take over. But they were still producing weapons. So this is where it gets interesting because this doesn't look like a decorative sword. This looks like a battle-ready sword. Like, I mean, it's not sharpened because it's a thrust sword, but it's not decorative in any way. It looks like all the other model swords as well. And it's not a fake because I'm definitely made sure that it's not a fake. So I think this is a real, genuine World War II saber. I really do, because there's no decorative markings or anything on it. So there would be absolutely no reason to carry this around if it wasn't for that reason. So I'm assuming that it was issued to some kind of foot troops because they didn't use horses, to my knowledge, in World War II, or very rarely. So this had to be like some sort of foot soldier sword. Don't quote me on that. That's just my thought. So this is really cool. And the cool thing about this one, let me take it out real quick. It comes out pretty easily and it fits really well. What's missing on this sword particularly is the sword guard right here. Is to protect it from the scabbard. So that's missing. It's got a little bit of rust on the blade, but it's not really rust. It's more like surface rust, if that's what you want to call it. But it's pretty smooth on the blade, so I'm not even gonna worry about it because it actually adds a really nice patina to it. And it's also missing the paint from the cross on the Spanish eagle. So that's all this sword is missing. Just a little bit of paint, the protector, which, I mean, you can't even tell the protector's gone unless you actually know what you're talking about. There's a couple scratches on the sword, but I mean that's pretty normal. I mean, I'll post some actual. I'm gonna do some close-up shots in a minute of this so you can see it. It's got the checkered grips. It has some wear to it, so you can definitely tell that it's been used a long time. Yeah, so this is really cool. The inside of the cup, a basket hilt, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's a basket. I think it's just a cup. Don't quote me on that again. But I'm just going to tell you the bare necessities you need to know about this sword. There's a couple nicks in the handle. So let's get some close-up shots of this, and I'll get back to you. Okay, guys, so this should definitely give you a better picture of what you're looking at. So it's obviously missing the paint from the cross. I don't think there's any paint on the eagle because the other ones that I've seen that are like this, they don't have the paint on the eagle. So I'm assuming that it was just some sort of finish that was there. You can see the nice checkered grips that are still on this thing. And there's definitely some wear to it, you can tell. Because some of the checker grips are really worn down, like they've been used over time. It's got a little bit of surface rust inside the hilt, but again, you can't tell. It doesn't come off on my fingers. You get a little type of bolt that holds the entire blade in place, so that's really cool. And you've got the Artilleria de Nacional, I think that's what it is. So these are the actual factory markings, and a lot of people, they tend to confuse the sword because it says artillery on it. They tend to confuse it with an artillery saber. This is not an artillery saber. This is a cavalry saber. It's just made by the artillery factory. And then it's got the serial number on it, which I think, I'm almost positive, it says 4,149, because I don't see a 1 in front of that. So this is a low production cavalry saber. So this is really nice. And it's still got a lot of its bluing on the cup, so that's really nice to have. And you can see that there's a little bit of surface rust. Some of it comes off because I put it in the scabbard a lot, but I think it gives really nice patina, and I don't want to clean it. So let's get some close-ups of the blade. So it looks really nice. I mean, the tip is a little bit scratched, but I mean, what do you expect for a sword this old? I mean, this was meant for combat use. This wasn't your average Joe's dress sword, you know? So this thing looks really nice overall. And I'm going to show you guys something with it right about now. So you guys might be wondering, why is this a cavalry saber? So a lot of times you see sabers, or not even sabers, just swords in general on horseback, and they're doing this in the portraits and stuff. Well, let me tell you something. When I got this, I did not think it was going to be this heavy. Now, 3 pounds it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're swinging it like this, that's a lot of weight. And it doesn't work with your hand, okay? Unless I have bad technique. But that's not the case. This 3 pounds does not work like this, okay? This is a thrusting saber for a reason. It goes against your hand. You can feel the motion stop. Even with an overhand, it just doesn't work. But when you have it, if you're coming in on a horse and you thrust it like this, the sword wants to go with your arm. So it's not going against you like this would. So this is kind of hard to control. This is just straightforward. Okay? Like, it's very easy to do. I mean, it's not very easy because it's still, I'm not used to holding swords, so this is still like tiring me out, but I can definitely tell the difference between this is wrong and this is right, because the sword is designed to go with your arm. So that is really cool. That is a really cool design. And you can seriously do some real damage with this sword. So that's really cool. And that's why it's a thrusting saber. I just thought I'd throw that out there. So now we're going to get to the scabbard of this sword. Now the scabbard did not come with this sword. I bought the sword by itself, and I bought the scabbard separately. And this was the only scabbard I could find that was original. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, a rare find. So, and this is not a later version scabbard. This is the original M1907 Puerto Seguro saber scabbard. So and it fits this model perfectly, which is good, because otherwise I'd have a scabbard that doesn't fit it. So I got this for a great price. The only thing that's missing on this particular scabbard is the neck bolts. And what I'm going to end up doing is I finally found some non-original bolts. I found some modern bolts that actually fit this. I just have to grind them down because the threads in here are so small. They're like 2 or 3 threads. And none of the bolts that I have in my house fit. So I found some bolts in my house that fit. There's only 2, coincidentally, but I have to grind them down. So I'm going to give that to my dad. And the reason that I need those is because the throat comes out, and you don't want that happening. So when I pull the sword out, I kind of have to hold it in place and pull it out. And the guy who sold me this, he said there was no markings on this. And I was like, well, this looks original, and that's not possible. It's got to have markings on it. And sure enough, you can see they're kind of worn off, but you can see the faint markings of Toledo from the factory that it was made in. So I'm going to show you guys that right now. Okay guys, so right about here you can see the hallmark or maker's mark of what remains of Toledo. Now this is supposed to say Toledo, but it's been worn off over time. So really all you can see is the D, the O, part of the E, and then the rest is worn off. But you know that for a fact it's there. So it's not a fake. And you can definitely tell it's well made. It's got some weight to it. It's not fake. That's where the bolts go. in the throat, or into the neck, into the throat of the scabbard. Now, I can't find original pins for that because they're just not around. So this is what happens when the bolts aren't in there. They just kind of fall out of place. And yeah, it's got some rust and stuff to it, you know. It's whatever though. It's not bad enough to where I need to worry about it though. So it's okay. And then if it's out of place when you pop it back in, the weight of the sword will do the trick. Now, like I said, I did not buy this scabbard with that sword. This is the original M1907 Puerto Seguro cavalry saber scabbard. So it's got some scratches to it. This side is actually a lot better than this side. This side has a little bit more damage to it. So that's that. This is a really nice scabbard. I'm surprised that I found this because this is, like I said, this is the only original one on eBay. So this is really nice to have because I can display it with the sword now, and it's a perfect fit. So I'm gonna get you guys some close-ups of what the sword looks like inside the scabbard, and I'll get back to you. Okay guys, so this is a perfect fit. The only reason there's a slight gap there is because the guard is missing from the sword, and that's to prevent the smacking of the sword, but that's okay. So overall, it looks really nice. It's got a lot of weight to it. This thing probably weighs, you know, 6-7 pounds. I could just imagine someone carrying this at their side and having to pull it out. That's a lot of weight, you know. It's kind of like carrying a modern day handgun, except a lot of weight is added to it. So, you know, this is really cool. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about these hallmarks because you guys need to know that if you're purchasing this. This is the third version. I've already said that. That's because of the cross and the eagle. Now, there are two other versions. The 1907 version, or the Model M 1907 version, it has a crown with lances. That's the original version. And if I'm wrong on that, I'll correct myself. But that's the original version. The second version, which was made in, I think, the 20s. Yeah, the 20s. The second version, I think, was made in the 20s or the 30s. I'm going to say 20s, though, because, like I said, this information is scattered. It's got the crown. It's got the lances and the swords. It does not have this eagle. So that's the second version. This is the third version because it's got the eagle and the cross. Anything after this, if it says FK de Toledo on the blade, see, that's why I have to have the bolts in it. If it says right here, FK de Toledo on the blade, it's a fake. It's not real. Don't buy it. Stay away from it. They were not made with de Toledo on the blade. And normally, most of the time, you're going to see them a little bit above the mark. So right about here where my middle finger is. So if you see that on one of these blades, do not buy it. It is fake. That's how you know it's fake. So yeah, I'm going to post some pictures of the original model so you can see what they look like. And that's pretty much it for this video. This was an informational video, and I really wanted to help some of you sword collectors out there because there's just like no videos for this particular sword. There are Puerto Seguro sword videos out there, but there's none of this version. So I felt the need to make this because if people were out there and they're like, well, I got this sword, I think it's this, I don't know what it is. Well, now you know. This is the third version made during World War II. And I think this is actually not a very common one because of how little information is out there. So that's really cool. I'm going to hang this up on my wall when I get the wall hanger for it. And this is going to be a really nice display piece. I paid very little for this and I'm very excited. Okay, that was a lot of information to go through, so I'm going to let that soak in. You can use this guide for reference if you want. I'm going to cover the basics. Well, I already did cover the basics, so there's nothing more to cover. But I'm sure if I left something out, if you sword collectors out there know that I left something out, let me know, and I will post it in the video description of what needs to be fixed. So that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope this helps some of you guys out. It was a lot different from what I normally do. I'm probably going to do some outdoorsy videos soon, like, I don't know. I've got stuff that's in the works. You guys already know that, so I'm not going to talk about that for another 5 minutes. but I'm going to post some pictures of the different models of this sword. And, well, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that because that would be confusing. So you already know what you have. If you have any questions on a sword that you have, please post them in the comments. I will answer them because I actually really enjoy this stuff. As you can tell, you know, I've got a lot of collectibles on my shelf and over there as well. So seriously, if you guys have a sword and something in the video doesn't make sense, comment and I will answer it and try to give you the best response that I can. So that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.